welcome to another episode of Odds and Ends. I'm Montgomery County Auditor Keith, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this episode. This is a program sponsored by the Montgomery County Auditor's Office that we've done a number of these episodes now and really enjoy doing them. And one of the reasons we enjoy doing them because we've been able to meet some fascinating people and some people who are doing great things in our community and being very active, involved. And that's the whole idea, is that we have an opportunity here to meet people and to hear what they're up to and what kinds of events and challenges they are facing and positive things they're doing in the community. And so it couldn't be more timely because the Montgomery County Fair is going on this month. And we have with us today Lori Page, who is the Executive Director of the Montgomery County Fair and Montgomery County Agricultural Society, I guess, which goes beyond just the fair, right?
Correct.
But it includes the fair and the fairgrounds. And so we're very happy to have Lori with us today. And so we're going to talk about her experience and her role as the Executive Director and what's going on at the fairgrounds. So why don't we start, Lori, with, again, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, very timely. The fair is fast approaching, so the fair is July 9th through the 15th.
That would be correct.
July 9th through the 15th, and this will be the 171st fair, I believe.
That is correct.
So why don't we start off with, why don't you talk a little bit about your role as the Executive Director and maybe your career path, how you got to be the Executive Director. You've been the Executive Director since
2014.
Since 2014.
So just shy, it'll be 9 years.
Okay.
Well, it's been 9 years, actually.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about, but you worked for the fair before that.
I worked for the Preble County Fairgrounds, which is an adjoining fair. And I had started there, and I believe it was 2010. And I actually had the Fair Board seek me out and offer me an opportunity with the Montgomery County Fairgrounds.
So we stole you from Preble County.
You did. Shh, don't tell them. Oh, wait, they already know. Yep. Yep, so I was stolen from there, so I really enjoy it. I love it.
So are you, you grew up at a fair, as a fair girl? Is that been your
I did.
lifestyle in the past?
I did. I didn't show animals, so my role was a little bit different. I was more of the baking, because we lived in the city, so I did more of baking and sewing and competed and went to
4-H?
Yes, through 4-H. Yep,
Okay.
I did baking and sewing through 4-H and competed with in the 4-H club, which any kid can compete in that. And then I also went to state with my sewing one year.
Oh, okay.
So that was exciting.
Well, what did you sew?
I sewed a dress.
Okay, very nice.
Yep.
So is that their favorite part of the fair then? Is the 4-H exhibits and the 4-H competition? And I mean, I know, is that your favorite part now?
I do like the 4-H part, because it's important on promoting agriculture, which is our end game. That is our goal. That's technically the goal of all fairs, is to educate the public, adults and children alike, on what the fair is about, which is learning about agriculture and bringing knowledge to them about how the food gets from the farm to their table and where that comes from.
Right.
Yep.
So is that your favorite part?
I would say I love that part, but I really just like meeting all the different people.
Okay.
I feel like that's the biggest challenge of my job is people, but it's also nice to meet new people and to just generate those new relationships with all of the people that I see at the fairgrounds.
So you said you didn't show animals.
No, I did not.
The animals are one of my favorite parts of the fair, to be honest with you. I like the animals, and I didn't show animals either. I grew up in Butler County.
Okay.
And of course, when I grew up in Butler County was a much different place than it is now. It was primarily farmland and cow pastures surrounded where we lived. And we didn't live on a farm. I didn't raise livestock or anything, but many of my friends did. And so the fair was something we always looked forward to every year. And I'd go out and stay in the barns and with their cows or the cattle and stuff. So we really enjoyed that side of the fair. It was a family affair for us. Do you get a lot of families involved in?
We do, and we promote families to come to the fair. It's a fun, friendly, safe environment to come there and bring your families there and educate them, visit the animals. hopefully to learn the difference between beef cattle and dairy cattle. You know, what's the difference between the meat on my plate and where does the milk come from? And so, yeah, that's a big goal of the fair, is to make sure that the families come and enjoy it together.
And there's some education involved in all of that.
Absolutely.
And of course, there's rides and amusements and those types of things. But I know when I was a child, again, it was always a big family event for us. I mean, all of our family, an extended family, and aunts and uncles, we'd all schedule a time to go to the fair together. And we had our routine, you know.
Right.
The first thing we had to do when we got there was to go get foot-long hot dogs. You know, we had a routine, and we went through different phases. And again, all of that is just part of the experience, isn't it?
That is correct. And we do have lots of fair food this year. We have some new concessionaires coming along. I believe we have over 25 food trailers.
Oh, wow.
With probably about 5 of those being new. We're trying to really hone in on unique. We want all of the traditional fair foods, you know, as you had mentioned, the corn dogs, the funnel cakes, cotton candy. We want all of the traditional fun food to be there, but also bring in a little bit of that food truck experience as well.
Yeah.
So we have a different variety, and we hope that there will be something there for everybody.
Good. Very good. I'm sure there will be.
Oh, I'm sure.
Now, the fair is in a new location, or fairly new, right?
Yeah.
What will this be?
This will be the
4th year?
It's the 5th year. Technically, if we don't count COVID, it would have been the 6th fair.
Okay.
Yeah, but technically 5 fairs have been held there.
So 2018, am I right?
Yep, 2018 was the first year.
So do you miss the old fairgrounds?
I do miss the nostalgia of it, but there were some downfall of the old fairgrounds as far as, you know, the hill and, you know, just accessibility and that type of thing. We were landlocked there,
right?
Not able to expand.
You're not landlocked now.
We are not.
Yeah.
We are not. It's awesome. It's beautiful where we're at. It is like a park. You actually go through a park to get to us. So
it's really Judge Art Fisher, right?
Yep,
Judge
Arthur O. Fisher Park. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it's beautiful to go through that park, and then once you're through the park, you get to us, and then we also look like a park as well. So
that's true.
It's very exciting, and it's all level. So
no hill to climb.
No hill to climb. Very handicapped accessible, air conditioned building for people to cool off and to check out our vendors. So it's just a perfect location for us. Yeah,
there's this. You have this big exhibit hall, I guess is what you call it, exhibit hall where. People like the auditor's office. We usually have an exhibit there in the exhibit hall, but like you said, it's all air conditioned, and it's kind of a special feature of the new fairgrounds compared to the old fairgrounds. Yes. You know, the old fairgrounds, the old days of the fair, it was always like the end of the summer season. It was like scheduled around Labor Day,
right?
And which kind of conflicted with some other things. There are lots of other festivals and holidays and vacations, but now we're in the middle of July, kind of. And has that been a big adjustment too? Yeah, that has been a big adjustment. A lot of people still think that the fair is at its old location. They still think it's in September, and then some people think that we've moved to a completely different location. Mm-hmm. So that is a barrier that we've had to kind of get over. But yeah, definitely. The location is perfect for us, and it's just a good place for us to be. You, if they go by the old location, they'll certainly know that it's not there anymore. They will know. That has been, all the buildings have been raised, except for the roundhouse. Except for the roundhouse. Yep. So do you know what the plans are for the roundhouse? You know, I knew when we moved, and I knew pre-COVID, but I think that there was supposed to be construction like right after we moved, but because COVID and everything happened, the year, about a year and a half after that, I don't think they've been able to make progress. Yeah. But it was supposed to be a really nice development, and my guess is they're probably still working towards that. It's just going to take them longer. So it'll end up at the new fairgrounds? Is that the plan? Oh, the roundhouse. Yeah. Oh, no. The roundhouse goes with the land. With the land, I see. Yeah, so it's my understanding that it is supposed to be part of the new development that happens right there at the fairgrounds. Yeah. Now that you say that, I remember that. That was part of the deal. I think. We wanted to move it, but it was not cost very
effective.
Expensive. Yeah.
There was no way.
Well, so you mentioned COVID. So the last 4 or 5 years, I guess, have been interesting. Yes. For all of us. Not only from the standpoint you had to move to a new location and had to go through all of that, but then after you moved to a new location, then the pandemic struck. Correct. How has that impacted the work and your job?
Well, initially it did impact us in a bad way, the same way that it impacted a lot of businesses that do what we do. I mean, we're not only a county fair, but we're also a rental venue. So losing those funds and having to shut down was difficult for us. We were one of the fairs that didn't get to have our county fair. We knew well enough in advance that we weren't going to be able to have the fair. So we were one of the lucky ones that we knew. And we were able to plan for that. And then that year, we did have a livestock expo. It was called a Junior Fair Livestock Expo, which we were allowed to have, but we had to limit the people that were on the grounds. I think it was 100 or less, and it had
to be family members. Or
yeah,
something.
And it had to be direct family members to the exhibitors. And then once they showed, they all had to leave to make room for the new ones to come in. So it definitely affected us. It affected us financially. However, at the time we only had 2 full-time staff members, and we were able to retain those staff members throughout the entire pandemic, and able to keep those funds there to keep us going.
Good.
So I mean, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
We were able to do that.
So now you're jogging my memory here a little bit, because I remember that when you said we didn't have the fair, but you did have the livestock portion, and the reason I know that is because our weights and measures guys were out there and tested the livestock scales.
Correct.
So that is one of the things that we always look forward to in the auditor's office, is the opportunity to go out and test the scales that are going to be used to weigh animals in as they come in. But I think we have 5 different scales we test.
Yes.
One for cattle, one for hogs, one for sheep, one for small animals, and then one like a platform scale for turkeys. I
Yes.
think primarily turkeys.
Yeah.
And so we always look forward to that every year. Now, but I have a funny story to tell you. It's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time. It was funny. So we came out the year of the pandemic, and we tested all the scales because you were having the junior fair competition. So
Right.
we test the scales because the animals have to have certain requirements, right?
Right.
In order to qualify, they have to weigh a certain amount or not weigh a certain amount, and then they're eventually sold by weight or judged by weight or
Yes.
something. So we take that responsibility very seriously, and so we enjoy doing that every year. But now the year of the pandemic, after we left there you may not even know this, after we left there that year, one of our inspectors tested positive for COVID.
I do remember that.
And
yeah,
so
you guys notified us.
We had to all be quarantined
Yep.
and had to all be tested, and it all worked out. But it kind of made a nice twist to the whole
and nobody
experience.
on our end got sick.
No one else got sick.
Nope.
We only had one get sick. But we go every year, and we look forward to doing that. We'll be back out there again this year, and it's exciting for us. And again, we tell people, these boys and girls, young people have spent better part of a year
Yep.
or more raising these animals.
Yep.
And if they had to get eliminated or disqualified because of weight, it just would be devastating. So we take it very seriously. We make sure that they do.
Yes, and we always appreciate you guys coming out and doing that for us, because it is an important part of the fair for the competition portion.
So that's the first thing. When the animals arrive on the first day, they get weighed as they come in. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. They get weighed upon arrival.
And then later on in the week, they get sold.
Yep. And then for during the week, like during the competition, they actually are weighed and then broke down in class, which helps keep the competition fair, so you don't have a larger cow competing against one that's kind of the smaller weight class. So they break all of the competitions up by weight.
Okay.
So that the competition is fair.
So there are other things going on at the fair besides eating and...
My favorite part, probably. I don't know. You asked me that earlier. Now I'm conflicted. People are eating.
But there are other events like in the evening, and so we can talk about a little bit about those, what you've got scheduled for this year.
Yeah, so we have several events. We have, of course, the notorious truck and tractor pulls, the demolition derbies. We have a new rodeo that's coming this year.
The demolition derbies are always a big draw, right?
They're my favorite. Yeah, they're a big draw, and they're probably my favorite track event. So they're really good. We also have a petting zoo.
Okay.
We have acrobatic entertainers that are with the Cincinnati Circus, so they come in and they perform 3 times a day. We have wood carving, which is right at the front gate next to the sheriffs and EMTs. So we have a wood carving demonstration that's there all week. And then new this year, it's only 2 days because draft horses can't be at the fair for a super long amount of time. But on Sunday from 1 to 4 And let's see, Saturday from 4 to 7, I believe it is, we are having draft horse rides.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you don't actually ride on the draft horse, but they have a little carriage behind it, and then you get to go on a ride through the fairgrounds, and those are free.
Oh, nice.
So we're really excited about that this year. A family came in and said, hey, we want to do this. And we're like, hey, we want you to. And it's not every day that you get to see and be close up and encounter a draft horse. So we're excited about that.
Very nice. Very nice. So besides coming out and doing the scales, my weights and measures team was planning to come out for a couple of days to do some weights and measures demonstrations.
Yes.
And we're excited about doing that. Thank you for having us. I think we're going to be out there Tuesday evening and Saturday evening.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
I think that's right.
Like starting at 4 o'clock in the evening or something like that. Anyway, demonstration people, what do you guys do besides test livestock scales and gas pumps?
Exactly.
And so there's a little bit more to it than that. So we'll be doing some demonstrations out there those evenings for families to take a look at. And so there's always kinds of things to do out there. The demolition derby is always a big draw. I remember when it was even downtown here,
Oh, yeah.
it would close down streets and things for people
yes.
coming to see the demolition derby. The tractor pull as well.
Yep.
Tractor pull. So there's those types of things. You mentioned earlier that it's an event center, the fairgrounds is. Besides the fair, the week of the fair,
yes.
you do have other events and things. You can talk about that a little bit?
We do. We are also a rental venue. We have 3 different buildings that we actually rent out. We have the event center, which is the largest of the 3. Then we have the exhibit hall, which is down a size. And then we also rent a hall in the Calumet Center on Calumet Lane.
Okay.
So we rent all 3 locations, and we have everything from weddings to wrestling, family reunions, antique shows, Christmas craft shows.
Wow.
So we just have something almost, outside of the month of July, because we're prepping for fair halfway through June, and then all of July we're prepping and tearing down for fair. But almost every weekend, other than those weekends, we have at least one event happening at the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
And we don't advertise. We kind of get that word of mouth going out there, and really the facility and the building speak for themselves.
Sure, and you plenty of parking. Plenty of parking available
parking.
too, which helps.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I was just out there for Senior Day. The Council of Aging had a Senior Day out there. Which I think this was the first year they've been able to have it. They usually have done this in the past, but this is the first time they were able to do it in person since the pandemic. And I think they drew, several hundred people.
It was 500 people. They told me they were expecting about 300. They set up for 500, and they filled the entire 500 seats.
That's neat. That's neat too.
Yeah.
So it's a great facility, getting lots of usage, and it keeps your hands, it keeps you busy then.
Keeps me busy.
Yeah.
Very busy. And we have a small staff, but we have a hardworking staff, and then we have a board of 18 members, and it's also what a lot of people call a working board. So they're all hands on deck, especially when it comes closer to the fair. You just start seeing board members and their families start crawling out of the woodwork, and we're like, we're here, let's start planning for the fair. And so it's exciting to get them involved. It's just really a fun time to get everybody together and get involved.
If you go out there to the fairgrounds, you'll see them. They're out there on the fairgrounds doing their thing. So, and they enjoy it too, right? They've all grown up in farms and things, and so they.
I would have to say that if you're going to serve on a board and you don't get any compensation for it, they're volunteering their time to do this. That it's definitely a love. It's something that's in their blood, and they enjoy it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I know as a child and growing up, it was always meant a lot to me and my family to be able to go to the fair. My dad, when he was a child, raised and showed hogs, so he always made us make a trip to the hog barn. So I still do that today. So it's really neat. What do you think? What do you normally get in attendance-wise at the fair?
Attendance will fluctuate depending on the weather.
Weather is a big.
Unfortunately, that's just one of the downfalls of having an outside event. I wouldn't have it any other way, but that's just part of the downfall. We are completely dependent on the weather, but it's usually anywhere between 24,000 and 28,000, just kind of depending on the weather, and that's throughout the entire week of the fair.
It could get a little rain. It could get a little hot.
Yeah.
One of the things, there's been a lot of trees planted out there, but it's going to take a while for those trees to mature. So it's it's a little bit different from the old fairgrounds where you had these mature trees that provided a lot of shade in the summer. But again, it's flat and the buildings are air conditioned. And,
exactly. But then on that note, we also have an entertainment tent.
Okay.
So it is a great big large tent. It's right behind the event center. So when you come in the main entrance, you just go to the end of the first building that you see, and there's an entertainment tent there. And we have entertainment scheduled, live music all day from about noon until about 10 o'clock every night.
Oh, wow.
So it's nice live music that you get. I mean, you pay your admission to come in, which is $10, and then once you're in, everything at the grandstands is free, and then the entertainment at the entertainment tent is free. So, and then everything is free except for your food.
Right.
Yep.
Well, it's always a big week. It's always an exciting time for the community, and we appreciate all the work that you do. And again, like you said, it's a labor of love, and we understand that. So this will be the 171st fair.
Correct.
Scheduled for Sunday, July 9th through Saturday, July 15th.
Yes.
Any parting words to share?
Come out and join us. I would be in fault of not, if I didn't say this, admission is $10 per person. Mm-hmm. Kids 6 and under are free. So bring your kids and come on out and have a good time. We also sell weekly passes, so if you plan on coming more than 3 times, make sure you buy a weekly pass.
And like you said, the grandstand admission, whatever the event, like the tractor pulls and the demolition derby, right, all of that is included in the price of admission. But the rides, you have to pay extra for the rides.
Yeah, you do have to pay extra for the rides and food. So those are pretty much the only 2 things additional that you'd have to pay for. The rest of the entertainment, walking through the barns, all of that is free.
Checking out the animals.
Yep.
Watching the auction.
Correct.
All of that is free.
All of that is free.
And the exhibits in the exhibit hall, and there's always things to look at and things to do in there.
Yes.
And so, it's a great time, and we want to encourage everyone to take advantage of it and be part of the fair. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us and telling us about the fair, and we look forward to it. Thank you for your work and what you do in the community. It means a lot.
And thank you very much, and thank you again for having me.
Yeah. So that'll do us for this episode of Odds and Ends. We thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.